We're talking blockbuster trade rumors here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I'm your host, Trizzy Trace. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be talking about two superstars, one young, one older, because there are some trade rumors and some trade buzz around both of these players. For what it's worth, I don't want to trade either of these guys. And honestly, I don't think a trade will actually go down, but there's chatter, so we're going to talk about it because we're in the dog days of the offseason. So let's talk first about Chris Olave, because he has been a popular trade target, not just for the wide receiver market, but he's been one of the most popular trade targets for the New Orleans Saints specifically. Teams that have been interested / linked, I would say Steelers, I would say the Browns. There's a bunch of other teams out there that could potentially be interested in trading for a very young superstar wide receiver. But recently, we saw Albert Breer discuss these trade rumors, and he said that the Saints got inquiries from the Browns and Steelers early in the offseason and rebuffed them. And Olave's had a really nice offseason since. Maybe someone blows New Orleans away with an offer, but he's not on the block. And I have a hard time thinking he's going to be traded. Now, why do I continue to talk about this? Well, because Andrew Berry, the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, he loves wide receivers. He's been known to trade for wide receivers multiple times over the last handful of seasons. And I honestly will say this, I don't think that the Browns' interest is going away anytime soon. But in terms of the Steelers, I think that they're likely out of this conversation. In my opinion, I believe that the Browns and the Steelers both kicked the tires on a Chris Olave trade way back when, before the draft even happened, and ultimately they said no to both teams, and that's why the Steelers, they went after DK Metcalf, and they ultimately made that trade, but then they traded away George Pickens, which was weird, so maybe they would want one, but I will say this, the Browns, going back to that side of things, I don't think they're going to lose interest anytime soon. I mean, you can go back in time and look at the interest that they showed in Jerry Jeudy, and then a handful of months later, they were able to bring him into Cleveland. So I think that the Browns are a team to watch. I think they will be interested in Chris Olave. And because they haven't added a superstar wide receiver, in terms of the wide receivers in their group, they have Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Michael Woods, and then after that, it's not really anything that luxurious. So I could see the Saints potentially taking a call and saying, what are you interested in? Why are you calling me? Or do you want to blow me away? If not, then they're hanging up the phone. And that's why I go to this point. It takes two to tango. Like the Browns, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Falcons, the Giants, name a team, they can be as interested as they possibly want in this player. They could want this guy more than any other player in the National Football League. But the truth is, they all had the opportunity to draft him a couple of years ago, and they did not take that opportunity. And Chris Olave will be a focal point of the offense for New Orleans moving forward, and Kellen Moore has been explicitly clear about that. Going back to the owners' meetings a handful of months ago, Kellen Moore saying that Chris Olave is a phenomenal player. He's had a huge impact, but this is where I take a lot of context. He's going to have a huge impact this season. And if you forgot, the Saints picked up the fifth-year option for Chris Olave. If they didn't want him around, they wouldn't have done that, and they just would have traded him away. But now they are committed to him. They want him around. They want to build around him, and he is a player, like I said, that will be a focal point for this offense moving forward, and honestly, probably for the foreseeable future, considering his age and considering where the offense is headed under Kellen Moore. Now, look, I will say, don't be upset when you see these trade rumors. Don't be mad. Like, I'm going to personally take it as a compliment because I am choosing to view it like this. Other teams around the league really want one of our players because they really like that player, because they think that player will make them a better team. So that is a compliment, saying, this is a player that you have that's good. I want him. So there's desire there. So I'm choosing to not take this as a what the hell, why are we still talking about traders? I'm going to choose to look at it as a compliment. And look, talking about the blockbuster side of things and in terms of a trade, it's going to require a blockbuster offer. It's going to require an offer they can't refuse to move off of Chris Olave. He's a great player. There is a really, really high value for quality young wide receivers across the National Football League. So I don't think he's going anywhere, but I can understand and I get why teams want a player like Chris Olave. So for those of you out there who say the Saints suck and they're terrible and they're going to be horrible, worst team in the league, blah, 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 blah. Well, worst team in the league doesn't have a player like Chris Olave. So don't jinx it for me, Saints fans. Subscribe if you want number 12 to stay in New Orleans. I think he's going to, but let's just be safe here. And look, one of the teams that's interested, and one of the teams that I mentioned will continue to have interest, is the Cleveland Browns. And look, they're kicking our ass in the race to 50K. Matthew Peterson, he went out with the bang, and they have earned a lot of subscribers on the Browns Report. But I want to get to 50K first. So we got to take down Browns Report. It's been back and forth. Subscribe right now for Saints content by fans, for fans, pretty much every single day. Alrighty, coming up, we're going to be talking about another potential trade for a Saints legend, Cameron Jordan. Could he be on the move? He's 35 years old. He has expressed interest in the past and potentially getting out of New Orleans, but ultimately he decided to come back this offseason. So let's talk about it. But first, I want to show you this really, really fresh shirt. It's long sleeve, kind of like a long sleeve sweater type deal. It's on sale. Clearance. It's Nike. It's like $20. You guys got to go and get it. Chatsports.com/Saints Rewind. It's a throwback helmet, throwback logo. I mean, the colors, it's like that old gold. It's not that new, bright, obnoxious gold. I think this is a fresh shirt. It's on sale, clearance. It's limited time. Once they're out, they're gone. So go and get yours. Chatsports.com/Saints Rewind. Link is clickable in the comments and description. Now let's go to Cameron Jordan and the trade rumors there. Bleacher Report. Although they have some interesting articles out there, I wanted to dive into this one that they talked about Cam Jordan. They went through an entire list of players who could use a fresh start, and Cameron Jordan being one of the few veterans that they actually listed. So before I tell you what they said, I want to give you the trade idea, the trade package that they presented for the New Orleans Saints. A 2026 fifth-round pick and a 2027 sixth-round pick for Cameron Jordan. They did not list a team, but this is just the trade value and the trade that they cooked up. And for what it's worth, I actually don't think that's horrible value for a 35-year-old edge rusher who has been on the decline over the last couple of years. But I want to just make this abundantly clear. I don't want to trade Cam Jordan. Let me say that one more time for everyone in the comments who's already said, why do you want to trade him away? I don't want Cameron Jordan playing for another football team. I want him in New Orleans. Let me make that explicitly clear. However, this is a business. However, there is aspects of this that the fans just cannot control. And so if a team presents a nice offer to a struggling Saints squad that's in the midst of a rebuild, then potentially that's a move that is explored. Now, I'll give Bleacher Report the opportunity to defend it. I don't think it's going to happen, but let's see what they said. As things currently stand, the Saints look like the NFL's worst team, particularly after the unexpected retirement of quarterback Derek Carr. Maybe Cam Jordan does stick it out and complete his career only wearing the black and gold. However, the 35-year-old might be tempted to chase a Super Bowl elsewhere. I don't think Cameron Jordan's going anywhere. I will say I think that it makes sense to make that argument of he probably wants to go and win a Super Bowl. I mean, what NFL player doesn't want to win a Super Bowl? You're telling me right now, you at home, if you're in the league, you wouldn't want to go win a Super Bowl? Like, I get it. But I just don't think he's going anywhere. He's too much of a part of the community. He's too important to the team. He's too important to the culture, to the locker room. He's a player that defies being an impactful player. He is an impactful part of the community of New Orleans, and if he left, that would be a serious, serious thing that is felt across the entire state of Louisiana and all of the Who Dat Nation. Now, Bleacher Report continued by saying the 2025 campaign should be an evaluation year for the Saints, which I think is fair to say, particularly at QB and on the O-line. There's been multiple proven veterans on the defensive line would draw interest around the league, including Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu. But with Cam Jordan's consistency on an every down basis at a premium position, it should be enticing to squads looking to address their defensive front. Look, in my opinion, around any of those players, Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, any of those guys, any of the veterans specifically, if a trade was going to happen, if trades were going to occur, they would have already gone down by now. I firmly believe the Saints would have traded some of those veterans away before the draft if they really, really wanted to get a return in those players that isn't on the field and on-field production. I believe that the New Orleans Saints may take calls later on, but I think as of right now, especially for the veterans, if a trade would have happened, it would have already gone down. And honestly, for the whole roster, I just don't see the Saints making a trade or trading away guys. Maybe they're trading 4 players, sending away picks, but Even that I have a hard time believing because they're in the middle of a rebuild and they're operating like that, which is good for what it's worth. But maybe if things change and maybe if this season goes to shit and maybe things go horribly wrong and Cam Jordan doesn't like the way he's getting used, maybe the team has 1 or 2 wins and they're just like, shoot, we really need some draft picks, and there's a team desperate enough to send a high-value pick for a player like Cam Jordan. Maybe, just maybe, that does happen. I'm going to acknowledge the fact that it could happen. I just don't think it will. Because Cameron Jordan believes in this team. He believes that they can compete for the NFC South, and thus compete to make the playoffs and go on a run. So Cam Jordan saying this, the Bucs have won the division the last 3 or 4 years, so until you knock off the king of the hill, that's what you're doing. You're climbing a hill. But let's not just say they're running away with it. They clearly won the NFC South last year at 10-7. The year before that, they were 9-8, and before that, 8-9. So come on. It's definitely attainable to go after. I don't think that that's too far-fetched to say out loud. I don't think that that's a horrible take. I will say shout out to Cam Jordan for having some blind optimism and some very, very high hopes for the season. Of course, I'm not expecting us to go and win the division and go on a Super Bowl run, but to say that it's impossible is just silly. The NFC South is a dog shit division, and quite frankly, until I'm shown or I see something that says, oh my God, all these teams are significantly better than the Saints, I just have a hard time believing they can't compete. And I also will say, I think with the coaching staff alone, the changes that the defensive coaching staff has seen, and also the scheme changes, I think that's not just going to benefit Cam Jordan, it's going to benefit the entire defensive line. They're going to be used in ways that will set them up for success. They will be in position to make an impact, and I think at the end of the day, they have a talented roster. They just need the guy to run the chessboard. They need somebody to put the pieces there to succeed, and hopefully Kellen Moore, Brandon Staley, they can do just that. Now let me ask you this question. Would you trade away Cam Jordan? I'm saying no, but I want to hear from you. Would you, yes or no, in the comments? And if you would, I want to hear why. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Y'all stay golden. Another video coming at you later.